Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 5:06. It's Wednesday morning in the nation's capital. Good morning. 23rd day of April. Man, it's just flying by. Our lives are flying by at light speed. You're changing your daughter's diaper, and before you know it, you're walking her down the aisle.
Oh, dear.
And then soon you'll be dead.
Stop it. My God.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Should I take over?
Now you know what I've been going through the last couple of weeks. We're now 10 days away from the wedding celebration of one Veronica O'Connor and her fiancé, who I have not been given permission to give his name out publicly yet. So we'll see.
You're so funny. I thought you were going to say who I have not met. Okay.
I have no idea who she's married. It's 6:35. We'll talk to Cal Thomas about my existential crisis. It's 7:05. Pat Harity, Fairfax Board of Supervisors, who, of course, just recently announced that he will be withdrawing from the race for lieutenant governor. So we'll check in with Pat. And then at 7:35, Tom Fitton of Judicial Watch. He's got, Judicial Watch is great at, pouring through all the FOIA requests and getting documents and files about, some of the greatest scandals. We wouldn't know Hillary Clinton used a private email server if it weren't for Judicial Watch, right? I mean, this is the kind of stuff that Fitton is so great at. But now he's got the mother lode. This is the story we've all been waiting for. Did you see what he got? Tom Fitton will be joining us at 7:35 because he has all the FOIA documents and the dirt on the case of Peanut the squirrel.
Oh, dear.
You remember
Poor
Peanut.
Peanut the squirrel. I'd forgotten about that case.
Peanut. Well, Tom Fitton doesn't forget. He has wrapped those beefy arms around that story, and he is going to wrestle it down to the ground and give us all the details. Now, Julie, a couple things. First of all, I was at the White House yesterday. Did you see that?
Yeah. You're so important.
It wasn't the White House per se. I was White House adjacent.
Hey, come on. That's the White House.
When you work in the White House, you say, "Yeah, I work at the White House," and it's like, "Really? You're in the West Wing?" And no, I'm in the Eisenhower.
But that is annoying. I find that so annoying, and it's such a no. Because I worked in Congress. Doesn't mean I worked in the Capitol Dome. I didn't actually have a tiny desk in the dome. I was in one of the office buildings.
So I was in the executive office
Very
building,
cool.
which is a beautiful building. We had a great view of the White House. We walked past the White House. Anyway. It was fun. It was very cool. We had a very cool media row set up there, and it was really fun because Vince Colonnese and I were sitting next to each other. So we were like, trading funny jokes and stories in between interviews. And our friend Stacey, it was so funny. I was like looking around in the room. It's like, oh, you used to fill in for me. You used to fill in for me. You used to fill in for me. Like all around the room. Like Vince started out as a fill-in here, right? Then Stacey Washington, who I love Stacey. I've known her since the Breitbart days. She's now on Sirius XM.
She's great.
Chris DeGaulle was there. We love our Chris DeGaulle. He's my best friend. We had a great dinner last night. So it was fun. It was very fun.
Fun.
And I spoke with, coming up later in the program, I spoke with the Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, and I spoke to the DAP. Do you know what
What's
DAP
the DAP?
is? Oh, see, this is a whole thing. If you're a DAP, it means it's a ranking at the White House. A DAP is a deputy assistant to the president. That's a DAP.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
I like that.
Deputy assistant to the president, Sebastian Gorka. That's the DAP I talked to. So we had I got to talk to two Gorkas because we had the fairer Gorka yesterday on the morning show, Katie Gorka, and we had Dr. G. So he'll be joining us a little later. You'll hear my conversation with Gorka and with Secretary of Education McMahon and a few other people that I talked to there that we'll get in here as the morning develops as well. So we got a lot of interviews, including some from yesterday at the White House. Also, did you see Randy Weingarten yesterday on with Martha McCallum?
Oh my gosh.
Let me because I watched this exchange and I had a little bit of PTSD from my first day on the air with Julie Gunlock. Here, take a listen and you'll see exactly what I mean.
We have actually very difficult.
Martha, sweetheart, listen to me.
Please don't call me sweetheart.
It actually does. Oof. I'm sorry. My bad.
Remember that time I called you sweetheart, Julie?
I don't. How do I not remember this?
I didn't. I would never. I would never.
I was trying to be calm. I was like, really? Did you ever
I
do
would
that?
absolutely
Can you imagine?
never do that. So you're at Independent Women's Forum. You have been dealing professionally as a professional woman in the workplace, in our government, in media for 30 years. Have you ever dealt with another woman in the workplace or even a friendly or adversarial role who would ever do that to you, who would ever diminish you like that?
Well, I have. Yes, I will say the leftist women do regularly diminish and treat us in a sexist fashion. I am not kidding you. Leftist women are some of the most sexist women out there. They have such disrespect for conservative women. So, not that, Martha McCallum is a professional news person and, Randy should have treated her such, but Randy is on the left. Randy is about as leftist as they come. And I'm not surprised that she treated a perceived conservative woman that way. We are not in the club, if you'd like, if I can put it that way. Truly the worst. She's a bridge troll. Absolutely a bridge troll. She's absolutely the worst.
You need to hear it. I'm going to be. This is my clip of the day. We're going to hear this.
I love it. You should actually call me sweetheart every once in a while when I interrupt too much. When I annoy Larry. Like every Monday through Wednesday, Larry's always giving me a look. Like, could you shut up? We're on the clock. We're on the clock. So you should just go, sweetheart. Sweetheart, exactly. Look at the clock.
It has nothing to do with interrupting me. It has to do with keeping the trains running on.
Sure, Larry.
Because you don't get yelled at about it. I do.
You have actually very, very difficult.
Martha, sweetheart, listen to me.
Please don't call me sweetheart.
Please don't call me sweetheart. Oh,
look up.
And Randy actually, she goes, "Oh, I'm sorry. That's my bad. I'm sorry. Oh.
My bad." But I don't believe it. The my bad is patronizing too. Listen.
I'm sorry. My bad.
Sorry. Yeah, not sorry.
Now, Randy, if you could just apologize to parents and the children whose lives you destroyed, that'd be great. It's amazing she can even say sorry. I didn't even know she was capable of saying sorry.
I am impressed with Martha McCallum's decorum because let me just say, having sat face-to-face and across the table yesterday with the Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, if I had accidentally or stupidly referred to her as sweetheart, she would have gone full WWE on my butt.
Indeed.
She would have stood up. She would have lifted up that chair she was sitting in and smacked it across my head, and I would have deserved it. Well, so there's that. All right, coming up yesterday, a big announcement from the Food and Drug Administration from RFK Jr., the Secretary of Homeland Security, Secretary of Health and Human Services, as well as our new director of the FDA, Marty McCary, friend of this program, about food dyes in our food, and about what the disposition is, whether they have been dangerous or not to our lives, whether they're needed or not, and whether it is a burden on the food industry to remove those food dyes. What does it mean to your life? Thankfully, we have what RFK Jr. said, we have what Marty McCary said, and then we'll hear what Julie Gunlock says. Take that to the bank. But first, it's 5:15.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
All right, like I said, announcement yesterday from the Secretary of Health and Human Services as well as the FDA head, Marty McCary. Let's start with the Secretary. He was on Fox News. He talked about these dyes. This is cut one. Go ahead.
What are these food dyes actually doing to kids especially?
Yeah, well, if you look at the ingredients for Fruit Loops 20 years ago, it was very, very different than it is today. And today we use chemicals in Fruit Loops that are banned in virtually every country in the world. So if you buy Fruit Loops today in Canada, it is made with vegetable dyes. If you buy it here in the United States, it's made with petroleum synthetics. And as I said in that clip, nobody wants to eat petroleum. So when we went to meet with the food companies, I said to my staff, if they want to eat petroleum, they should put it in their food themselves at home. They shouldn't be feeding it to Americans who, without their knowledge, without their consent. And today we announced that we're going to get it out of the food. So there are 9 dyes, Jesse, 2 of them we're going to ban immediately, orange bee and red dye 2. We're going to accelerate the removal of red dye 3, so we're going to bring it down to under a year. And the other 6 dyes within 18 months, we hope to get them out of all the food. And that's just the beginning. I mean, one of the problems is that the science about these additives has been systematically suppressed for 30 years because the industry has been running this agency. And we're getting rid of all of those conflicts. We've gotten rid of most of them. And we're going to do real science. And we're going to do science precisely on the issues that Americans care about, making sure their kids are getting food that isn't poison.
All right. So, Julie, I have a lot of issues with what I just heard. Let me just throw it out there, and then I'll get your reaction. Number one, listen, if it is true that in other countries they don't allow these things, in our country we do. If it's not burdensome to the industry and they seem to work well with other countries in selling their product, better to have a more natural product than not a natural product, I would assume, because this is just an aesthetic thing these days. It doesn't have anything to do with preservative or actually making the food better or healthier, number one. So if that's the case and if it's a wash, fine. Why not? But here's my problem. The question was, what are these dyes doing to our kids? How is it harming them? And after nearly 2 minutes, I didn't hear an answer. And is it the case that, well, they're not really harming the kids, but we just don't like it because, I mean, who wants to eat, chemicals, number one? Or is it number two, we don't know what it's doing to the kids because big chem and big food won't even allow us to study that? Where is this story?
Look, Larry, when you go overseas and you get Fruit Loop, everybody uses the Fruit Loop example, right? And yes, if you eat Fruit Loops in Canada or France, they're not as bright, okay? So they're using things like beetroot or, whatever, so, some sort of natural, what they call natural dyes. I always love this whole thing. Like, natural's always better. It also is natural botulism. Okay. There's a lot of things that are deadly that are natural. And everybody's like, oh, it's so great. Or, my favorite other line is, if you can't pronounce it, you shouldn't eat it. It's like my dad still can't say quinoa. I always use that example. It's like these are stupid rules. These are stupid rules. And what bothers me so much is, oh goodness, we're now gonna ban all these dyes. Okay, which there's really no conclusive evidence that shows that these dyes are harmful. And this idea that dyes are toxic is baloney. There is a regulatory framework around dyes. It's called GRAS, which is generally recognized as safe, which means food industries themselves test the safety of these things and then provide that information to the FDA. So this idea that it's just the Wild West and good luck, like you're out there, you could be eating toxins, you just don't know. That's just not true. There is a food safety regulatory structure out there that does ensure that our food is safe. Now, I actually am fine with banning some of these dyes because they add they contribute nothing nutritionally to food. And it really is used as a marketing tool and a way to, make our cereal or make our item look better. Dayglow Orange Fanta, for instance, is to a child more exciting than naturally colored orange juice. So they make the Fanta. Now in Europe, my kids actually, this sounds so pretentious and I'm sorry for saying this, but my kids have been to Europe a couple times, and they prefer the Fanta over there, which actually does not look
my
that
children prefer European Fanta.
I know, I hate myself for even saying it. The point is that there are differences. You're not poisoning your kids. This is what bothers me the most. I just want to really quickly say this. I know we're on the clock. I want to say this. You know what? We're not talking about unhealth. The sort of when we come to unhealthy kids, nobody's talking about. Like, I'd like to hear RFK tackle how sedentary kids have become, okay? How they do eat crap. Let's think about the food that contains dyes. Is it bananas? Is it like a salad? No.
Like,
Fruit Loops are unhealthy. It's not the dye. It's the sugar.
Exactly.
Okay?
I was thinking that too.
Yeah. Why don't we talk about?
We need to make our Fruit Loops safer. Maybe take the
love
sugar
that.
out.
We're gonna add in beetroot, and suddenly, Fruit Loops are totally healthy. Look, kids are playing. They're playing online. They're playing online. They're playing games. They don't go outside. We've got hovering parents. Let's also talk about the school lunch program. Let's tackle how disgusting the school lunch program and how parents don't cook for their kids anymore. These are the things that are actually going to improve the nutrition and the health of kids, not a couple dyes that are used in food manufacturing. Sorry, end of rant. I think I made time.
It's 5:23.
Coming up, Larry was at the White House yesterday. So impressive. We'll hear some of his interviews. Keep it here. It's 5:30.
WMAL FM Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
Well, we talk about all the changes that have happened in this White House compared to the last White House, but I'm going to be controversial. I think the greatest change has been in the press office, communications department. And joining us right now, Anna Kelly.
I'm a little biased, but I agree with you.
Yeah, exactly. Deputy Press Secretary. And you guys, first of all, you look like you're having fun.
Oh, my gosh. So much fun. Yeah. I mean, it's really fun. Of course, as you know, we're so excited to host folks like you, local media from all across the country for events like this and really leading the most accessible and transparent press operation in history and being part of all of the things that the president is accomplishing. So it's truly so much fun.
How important has this sort of staking your claim on that room, that press office, the briefing room? Because people assumed that the media runs things in there, like it's their room or something, and they've sort of taken that attitude.
Right. Well, it's really interesting because you have organizations, I'm sure you're alluding to, like WACA, who basically led this cartel of media, which totally excluding so many independent media outlets, organizations with massive audiences from participating and covering the president, which is so counterintuitive. And of course, this president, big part of his victory and a big part of why he's here was his outreach to non-legacy media, to diverse audiences, not traditionally reached out to by presidential campaigns. And so it's really been exciting to not exclude, but include, more voices and bring in new folks to the briefing room, launching the new media seat, which Caroline Leavitt is, of course, a wonderful boss and really spearheaded that effort, restoring 400 press passes. So it's really fun to be part of this era of accessibility and transparency for this White House briefing room.
Yeah, and also just in terms of who gets to ask a question, I mean, are you surprised at how the legacy media, they still sort of fall into the same rut with the same kind of patterns of questions? Whenever you guys spread it out to the outside of the room, then things get interesting. You actually start hearing different perspectives and different questions. I mean, that's what it's about.
That's right. And they're more in line with public opinion. I mean, you look at issues like Abrego Garcia, an illegal migrant criminal who is deported to his home in El Salvador. And yet you have the legacy media really standing up for illegal immigrants from El Salvador, over the rights of American citizens, over, people like Rachel Morin, who was brutally killed by an illegal immigrant. I mean, they're so vastly out of touch with, I think, public opinion and what the American people believe. And so it's really important that we encourage those diverse voices because it's about bringing in those new perspectives that are a big part of why this president is here and really are, really in touch with the American people.
Yeah. So in the first 100 days, have any of them privately off the record say, guys, we really appreciate it. For the first time we actually get to talk to the president, we hear back to them compared to Biden, right?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, and so our offices are all right outside the briefing room. And so this is the first job I've ever had in communications where reporters can actually come in my office, which is a little new for me. But of course, privately, they are all really excited about the opportunity to ask the president questions. Of course, you had Biden, who was bunkered down and
Does it frustrate you that it's privately, though? Why don't they say that? Why when they go back to the studio and say, hey, Wolf, say what you will, but we're getting more access than we've ever gotten here. And if you care about the First Amendment and freedom of the press, this is a great White House.
It's true. I think they all just kind of fear each other. They fear the Correspondents Association cartel. I don't really know what it is. And you have some independent journalists, Daily Caller does this where they'll kind of pull back the curtain about some of the things that the journalists are saying. But it's true. I don't know why they don't say it publicly because they are privately very happy. They're getting more access to the president than they've ever had. And we're truly running the most transparent administration in history.
This is my book. It's Shameless Liars.
Oh, yes.
It's about how Trump defeated the legacy media and made them irrelevant.
Perfect.
Hold it up for the camera because it's an inside joke with my audience because I shamelessly plug that book, but that's for you.
Oh, fantastic.
Share it
I'm
with
excited.
the team. But it's all about. But while we're talking, what's been the worst lie in your opinion during these first 100? I know we're talking about the great success of the first 100 days of the Trump presidency, but in tandem with that, are all the lies that the media has been telling about you. So what's the one when you woke up and say, "Are you kidding me? This is just fake."
I think There's so many draft executive orders that I read about like every day, and it's hard to pick one, but I'm like, what draft executive order? So I'm like, any bum off the street, I guess, can just write up a document and say, this is a draft executive order.
Right.
And I'm looking at the calendar. I'm like, I've never heard of this thing in my life. So it's very interesting, the sourcing that comes out of this media. But again, I think it's about the lies, and it's also about just the total distance from reality. The Borrego Garcia example is a great one.
That was pretty good.
You know, the Signal stuff is a great example. I mean, we have long said this is an approved app for government use, and yet the media is just obsessed with it.
When you got your job at the White House, they gave you a official government device. Was Signal loaded up into it?
Signal is loaded up on a lot of government devices.
Right, yeah.
So like, it's an approved app for government use.
Of course it is.
And yet the media is just obsessed with it. So I think it's great to have folks like you here who are actually covering the truth, who are promoting all this president is doing to deliver on his campaign promises, which is a whole lot of things.
So, you know, Signal was developed by a nonprofit foundation called the Signal Foundation. Do you know who the chairman of the board of the Signal Foundation is? The CEO of NPR.
Really?
Ms. Maher. Yes.
Really? Okay. So I'm learning something new.
You might want to take that one with you. I think it's a great revelation.
Got it.
Well, yeah, keep having a good time. You know, seriously, because this can be a tough time. It's hard enough to work in a White House. And then you have to work in the media, and you have to deal with reporters. But you guys, it really looks like you like each other, and you enjoy the job.
Well,
are you faking it?
Oh, no. I mean, we follow the lead of our boss. I mean, it's fun coming off the campaign. The president, of course, is known for his very busy schedule. The man does not sleep. He is always going. He's always really excited about what he's doing. And so it's really cool to be part of an administration where, you know, the leadership at the top is so excited about what we're doing. We're getting to do fun stuff, delivering on our promises every day that are, you know, in line with what the American people have been waiting for, right? So when we have a great team, I, of course, want to shout out Caroline Leavitt, who's a great boss. And so it's truly an honor on all sides.
All right. And who's your least favorite person in the briefing room? Come on.
Oh, gosh. Well, maybe we'll talk about it when the mics are off.
There you go. See, that's a good answer. Anna Kelly, White House Press Office. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Official title, Deputy Press Secretary, which is a big deal. Thanks, Anna.
Thank you.
Mark Levin, weekdays 6 till 9 on 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
Democrats continuing their ongoing vacation in San Salvador under the guise of trying to, you know, take care of the Maryland man. Do you notice if you go on cable news now, or if you look at the morning shows, Good Morning America or Today Show, no talk of the Maryland man. No more. Right. They don't want to. Julie, they don't want to talk about this guy. What happened? I thought it was about due process. I thought.
Just a dad.
Well, these 4 Democrat members of the House, they think it's still a winning issue for them. So here we go. Cut 4. Democrat Representative Robert Garcia of California, clearly in a safe district. Take a listen.
I think what's really, really, really clear to us is that this is more than just about immigration or deportations. This is about a red line in the sand that Donald Trump is now stepping over. The fact that he's unwilling to listen to the Supreme Court, of which he appointed conservative justices to, is a fire alarm moment in this country.
Fire alarm.
He's been ordered to bring Abreu Garcia back to the United States and refused to do so. This should be a bipartisan issue. All Americans should be putting pressure on Donald Trump to do the right thing, not just because it's the right thing to do for human rights or for him and his family. He has to do it for due process and law in this country. So that's why we're advocating. This is bigger than about just Kilmer Garcia. This is about due process in the United States.
Right.
There we go. Now, what's interesting, that was on CNN, Julie, and it came literally about 4 hours after an article was published in Politico where Democrats speaking off the record said, we have to be careful to not get sucked into an argument where Republicans can say we care more about undocumented immigrants than American citizens. So that's why Democrats are going to keep talking about due process. They're also betting that the invocation of due process and the sometimes wonky legal fight will resonate with the broader American public. They argue it will allow them to place the debate around the case on their own terms after Republicans made immigration and the border a central part of their argument to voters in 2024, exploiting divides in the party on border enforcement. So basically, Politico said, here's what their playbook is. They're going to try to make it all about, you know, the Supreme Court and due process and all these things. This is, by the way, after 2 weeks of failing to try to make it this heart-rending, pull the heartstrings, oh, this poor Maryland man. Now it's like, oh, no, it's not about him. And then there's Garcia on CNN doing exactly the playbook that Politico said. Nowhere, by the way, did the CNN journalist say, hold on. You can't change the subject now and say this is all about.
Of course not.
Dotting I's and crossing T's.
Notice also Robert Garcia said something curious there. He said, every American should stand up and have their voice heard. Essentially what he's saying is he's disappointed in the American public that nobody cares. Nobody cares about the mythical Maryland man, just the dad.
Yeah,
it's not working, and he's disappointed. You should stand up. You should get involved in this. So he's sort of scolding the American public. Again, a strategy that's not going to work with the American public.
Representative Maxwell Frost of Florida, he was on as well. Cut 5.
Congressman Frost, is the message about due process and Abrego Garcia, for his part, not getting it and so forth, is that really resonating with your constituents right now?
It is. And the reason I went on the trip is because I've received hundreds of phone calls, messages, mail correspondence from my constituents who live here in Florida's 10th asking me to do something. I represent a very, very diverse community full of immigrants, full of people from across the entire globe that are proud to call themselves Americans now. And I've spoken with many of them, and many of them have reached out to me since we went on this trip to El Salvador, saying, I see myself represented in Abrego Garcia. What happened to him could happen to me. I'm scared.
All right, hold on a second here. This vast swath of people who call themselves Americans are proud to call themselves Americans. They're so proud to call themselves Americans, but they're not proud enough to actually go through the legal process and turn themselves in and say, I'm a proud American, but I would like to, be here legally and actually, do the hard work, and that would require them to go back to their country and actually do it the legal way. They're not that proud to be American.
No.
Also, did you catch that? Cut 5A, Maxwell Frost, local Florida man. But what, cut 5A here?
Saying, I see myself represented in Abrego Garcia.
Wow.
Enchilada.
Yes. I'd like to have a couple of burritos, and please make them a little on the caliente side, if you don't mind. And I love coming to Chipotle. It's my favorite place to go. Why do they do this? All right, and then finally on Laura Ingraham last night, Yasamin Ansari, Democrat, Arizona, was asked about, while you're here, about the Maryland man, how about the Maryland mom who was just murdered? Cut 6.
An illegal alien from Guatemala was just charged with his girlfriend's murder in Maryland, same state, of course, Mr. Abrego Garcia is from. She was missing for 2 weeks, mother of 2 young kids. Police found her buried in a forest. Do you know about this story? Do your constituents care about those victims? And do you intend on calling that family, since Maryland residents are obviously a concern in some way, shape, or form for you and all the people of your state?
I'm appalled by any violence that takes place in this country. As a former city official, I have a very strong pro-public safety record, and that's why I believe in the rule of law, and that's why this case is so important. I think these questions are a distraction from the main issue, which is that Donald Trump is defying...
Don't distract me with the murder. I'm pro-law and order, and that's why I want to make sure this gang member, gets his day in court. It's sad and pathetic, and they have no answer to that.
It is embarrassing.
Julie, though, you remember how yesterday I was joking that the oversight chairman Comer should actually, open up the wallet and pay for, send every Democrat down there. Who
They're
cares?
Listening.
It's fine. That's wonderful.
They're listening.
Clearly, people listen to this program from Politico yesterday. The NRCC, the National Republican Congressional Committee, is offering to pick up the tab for any House Democrat eager to hang out with their new poster child in El Salvador, an illegal immigrant MS-13 gang member. I'm sorry, this isn't Politico. I think maybe it's Daily Caller.
But they have a condition.
We just have one condition. Live stream the whole thing. Snap plenty of selfies with your MS-13 buddies. And make sure you post them on social media. So there you go. The NRCC is willing to pay for any Democrat's trip to El Salvador.
Good job, Larry.
For it. Yeah, we make a difference here. 5:53.